just so in case
All
others
right,
can't
sorry
make it.
guys, I'm a little late.
No,
Um,
I'm late too, so don't worry about it. We've been having all kinds of technical problems.
oh geez, yeah, I mean I've seen the chatting thing going up on the STD. Um, yeah, I might swing back to my team in just a little bit. I pretty much got their stuff done, like the assignments that we talked about earlier, you and I, Stephen,
Yep.
about what we need to work on and focusing on.
Yeah, and there were a couple of things that brother. That's what I wanted to talk about. Were some of the things that he had mentioned, just in the
Yeah,
changes to our assignments. Is Sarah going to join us? Is your wife going to join us?
the funny thing is, she's the one who told me about this. So let me go see if I can find her. One second.
Okay. And
Sarah.
then was Andrew going to join us? I'm hope.
All right, sorry. She's in the restroom.
Okay.
Moment. Then
Well,
you said you want Edgar. Let
sorry.
me. Wait, what?
What were you saying?
Did you say something about Edgar?
No, I was saying if Andrew or Jordan were going to join us.
It's a good question.
I know Jordan has a really hard time making it before 7 because he's on babysitting duty with his kids. Um,
Yeah.
but that also makes it really hard for Sarah to join us. So
If they're
Yeah.
his kids, it's not babysitting.
what?
If they're his kids, it's not babysitting.
uh,
Hey, as a parent, I call my kids babysitting, but we can debate that nomenclature. So, anyway, and I do quite a bit of it.
yeah. Well, with 6 kids already, I can imagine. I'd
Yeah,
say hands are pretty
You have,
full.
you have 6 kids?
I have
Yeah,
six
six
kids.
others.
Oh my
So
gosh.
the oldest is 7, and the youngest is 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I probably do about 20 hours a week, 20 30 hours a week taking care of kids. So, which is good. I love them. But yeah, that's why I was happy if anybody wanted to be project manager. Super
You
happy.
do not look old enough to have 6 kids.
No, I'm very surprised that you. Yeah.
Well,
Able,
it
you are
doesn't
able to
show,
put
but
that
my hair
down.
is turning white. So
I don't know. I can't tell.
my wife likes to pluck them. So that's fine. Um, okay, I think Andrew join join the Hangout session. Let's post the link again. Maybe it didn't post on Slack. Of course, you
No,
joined.
I see you right here.
Oh, I got it. You're good. Sorry about that.
Okay. Oh yeah, Slack yelled at me for posting it twice. Okay. Um, okay, let's go through. I'm gonna share my screen. I just want to quickly, um, Matt. I don't know how much you were able to listen the into the conversation, or what.
No, but Bud dropped in, and he's one of my team members. Dropped in, and he said around the time when Professor Williamson was going over our section and what he wanted us to
Yeah.
do. I'm not sure if you and I covered a bunch of that. He kind of mentioned we need to work on the diagrams, but I had to switch over to this before he could really go into detail.
There is a couple things. So let me go through everybody else's assignments, and then we'll circle around to you at the end. Okay? Is well, I get it depends. You were talking about you having to need to leave, but let's just go through, and then I think also Sarah was there, so she can fill you in as well, Sarah Catan. So um,
Yeah.
okay, so
Right.
in terms of assignments, let's just make sure everybody's clear in schedule wise. Okay. So Wednesday is the last day to work on for our teams to work on the document. Okay.
This is our lovely
And
thing.
then
So,
and then
Sorry, man.
sorry, were you saying something, Sarah?
Sorry, ignore me for 5 seconds.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so I want to make sure that everyone, and for those who are going to watch this, later in
Sure.
terms of recording, you will only work on the document until Wednesday midnight, okay? At that point, it turns over to Sarah Brote's team and no one touches it. Okay? Um,
Right. Yeah.
and then her team can go through and they will go through their sections and do the reviews, and then it will be opened up for anybody who wants to start working on the document or making changes on Saturday morning. Okay? After I've submitted it. Does that make sense? Is there any questions or concerns that anybody has?
Not here. You kind of cut out a bit, and I didn't hear the dates, but I'm pretty sure you said. I mean, I just looked at it today that ours is for Monday through Wednesday. Well, it closes on Wednesday so that the QA team can come in on Thursday.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. And just make sure that you're monitoring. You know, if your teams are saying, why can't we edit the document, just send that back to them saying this is what's going on. Okay.
Right.
And if I get requests from people asking to edit the document, I'll just send back to them, talk to your team lead. Okay?
Right.
Okay.
At that point, if we get to the point, and then instead of doing what we did last
Mm-hmm.
week was,
Yep.
getting frustrated, we can just create another separate doc,
Yep.
and then we'll just do it.
Okay. In terms of assignments, as far as I can tell, for things to change, it looks like there's a little bit of work in terms of definitions to fix from Brother Williamson. Sarah, are you okay with your team taking that on, Sarah Brote?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually, while that was going on, I made notes for my team. So.
Okay. So that would be, if your team can take that on. There wasn't any other changes outside of in the architecture section that Brother Williamson had mentioned. But this is a chance. Did anybody have any questions in terms of what they needed to do in terms of their assignments? Matt, I know me and you had talked for quite a bit. Sarah, Sarah Brote or Sarah Catan, do you have any questions?
No, I do have a comment on how we are going to do QA this time.
Okay.
We talked it over as a group, and we've decided that we are going to work in suggestion mode instead of comment mode.
Okay.
To easier, so it's not as cluttered. It's easier for them to see. If anything needs substantial work, then we will leave a comment.
Okay.
But we'll leave suggestions, and then if we need to, leave explanatory comments on those suggestions.
Okay.
That way, people can either choose to resolve them or ignore them if necessary. We think that would make things a lot faster at this point and a lot easier for the other teams to read.
Doesn't that increase the workload of your team, though?
We feel like at this point, we have gotten the major kinks out of it as far as formatting. We want to try it for this week and see if it is a little easier on us, basically, and easier on them.
Because I know with my team, and we were working on the editing for the SRS, we would only do our I mean, if it was a big thing, we would make a comment. But for the most part, we would just do exactly what you're saying, which is have a suggestion mode. And if you made the suggestion, you were not allowed to accept it. Someone else from the team had to come in, and we discussed it before we accepted it.
Okay.
So that kind of helped us keep each other in check to make sure that no one person was screwing something up, or
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and we work in waves because of the time zone difference and because our work schedule difference.
Right.
So I get into the document first, and then usually Brandon, and then Casey, and then Chuck and Tennille.
Okay.
So we're working in waves. Like I'll go through the whole thing, then Brandon will go through the whole thing, then Casey, then Chuck, then Tennille. So everybody gets to review what everyone else has already commented and done.
Uh-huh.
So
now,
And that can definitely work too.
Now apparently I don't have it here. I think that I had for your last week's assignment, Sarah, was to add in the limitations. Just because I thought
Yeah.
that that fit in best since your team went through the final piece. What I'm wondering is if you guys are going to be
Yeah.
working in the suggestion mode, would it still make sense for you guys to take that on? Or should I have each of the teams put in areas into the limitations?
So one thing we had a kind of a problem with last time, and that's why it's not as robust as it could be, is we realized when we were trying to do it, we weren't 100% sure what each team didn't get
Done.
if that makes sense.
Okay. Can you schedule maybe, let's schedule maybe a 10 or 15 minute meeting either Wednesday or either Thursday or Friday with me and your team just to discuss limitations? Okay.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, we meet on Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time if you want to join our meeting.
okay.
If that works for you.
Yeah, I think that that would work. I know next week I have to do another juggling around in terms of our meetings because I'll be unavailable at 6:30 to later. But
Okay.
this week let's do that. And let's just have a
Okay.
15-20 minute discussion about limitations. That way Matt's team
Okay.
and that'll make you guys can know what needs to be put in there. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that that's everything I wanted to cover in terms of just overall. I wanted to know if there's any concerns or problems that you guys are having in your teams or anything that I need to bring up with the professor.
My team continues to work like a well-oiled machine.
Uh-huh.
Stairs.
Okay.
I like it. I will mention that I know that most of my team, ever since the incident happened, most of my team has been kind of incognito, with the exception of one of them. Now, I was just assuming that. Well, I'll be honest, Bud never really gets back, but he's always there when I need him to be there. So I always trust that he gets the messages, but he's never necessarily there. He's not the worry, but I will say that Mahanrai has been incognito ever since then. And I normally would think that it's vacation time, and so everybody's kind of like, oh, out of space. But
Uh-huh.
I worry that his frustration, which was at you, is now directed at me and the professor. And so I'm wondering if he,
Well,
I don't know. I don't know.
just keep an eye on him. I mean, the professor put him on probation. So just keep an eye on him and just see how he acts, right? And just let me know if he's not responding, then we can talk to him and the professor. So, okay.
All right.
You know, you just try to reach out. I mean, he's nursing some hurt wounds, and I get it. So,
Yeah.
okay.
And I'm not surprised.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to let everybody else, I didn't go through the detailed assignment descriptions. I'm assuming that everyone knows has a clear understanding of what they're expected to do. If not, I expect you to talk to me about it. It's there in the class summary document, but if you don't understand what it is your team's expected to do, then talk to me and Matt, me and you, let's just talk for a few minutes, but I'm going to let everybody else get off the call, unless there's anything else we need to talk about.
One quick question.
Okay.
We've been tagging things that because we weren't sure if we were going to be adding definitions. Now that we know, do you want us to start compiling a list?
Yeah, I think that we do want a list. It's gonna the challenge is that if we look at the scope, next week is finals week for this class. Next week is the final, and then the week after is supposed to be minor fixes. So I'd say we do need to have a list. I don't want it to be a comprehensive list. I want it to be a good faith effort list.
Okay. We haven't found a ton. I mean, just like references to like the J Express and things like that.
Those need to go
We'll
in.
make a list. We'll make a list. We'll sit on the list. We can get to the list next week.
Yeah, let's
Actually,
make that a next week next week assignment. We do want to do the
Okay,
cleanups.
and my team can do
Go
that.
ahead.
They're working about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the big focus is to try and make things look professional, look consistent, and flow nicely. At this point, anything that's kind of hasn't been done, unless it's super glaring and we need to fix certain diagrams, those need to start going into the limitations. Because
Okay.
these next couple weeks needs to be, let's clean up and let's polish and let's present a very polished document.
Okay.
So.
All right, I'll make a list and we'll sit on it.
Yeah, and I'll assign that out on
Right.
next week's work. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Okay. So Matt, in terms of just what the professor talked about, and Edgar and Bud were there, but he essentially wanted the labeling of the diagrams to be at the bottom and the description. So let me bring up the SUD and I can just share my screen with you to show what I'm meaning there. And hope.
Definitely talked about that as well. There were some cases where, for example, in like diagram 6, you're looking at my screen.
Are you
We'll
sharing
have
it? Oh, you're sharing your screen. Okay, I'll
diagram.
close the STD. Let me.
Oh
No,
no,
go
it's
ahead.
fine. I can look at your screen too. But so for this one, you have the diagram 6 assignment view right here, and then you have like the diagram 6. So we have one at the top and one at the bottom. So I definitely talked about that with my team. And then there's also this right here, right? So you have the home page, which is in a sub-entity of assignment view, but it's no longer. That's one of the things that I talked about with my team members. Like, this shouldn't be there at all. You're saying that he wants the. Oops. He wants the. Oh shoot! Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. He wants the title of it.
Yeah. So typically,
it.
in most documents, a diagram title will be below it. Will be below the title.
Right.
And that's. I know that the team went with it initially because of the way Section 2, the QA team, went and put the titles everywhere on the top. The thing is that if you look at it, to Brother Williamson, that diagram looks like it's labeled twice. You see diagram 7 above it and then diagram 7 below it, and he's like, why is it labeled twice? Right? And so he'd say drop the title at the top and just have the title and the description below it on the diagrams. Okay?
Right. And that's definitely what I definitely addressed the same thing. So
the other thing that he mentioned is
that
something to keep aware of, and I don't think about this because I don't publish in periodicals, is that oftentimes a periodical, if you were to hand this document over to another team and say transform it into a journal or something to be published in a magazine or whatever, right? You would actually, they would move all these diagrams to the bottom, to the end of the document, or they'd move things to the right, or they'd move the diagrams where they are, while keeping the rest of the text in a single column or double column type of thing. Because of that.
So you're saying like half the words take up half the space on the left and the diagram on the right,
or they
for example?
Could make the diagram a full page, or they could make it a quarter of its size. Just whatever in terms of how they're going to change the visual representation of the diagram. And the reason why that's important is because the text, so if you look at you have homepage right there, the homepage entity. You would actually have homepage and then C, the word after homepage, C diagram 7. Right? So you're referencing inside the text what you're calling out to the diagram. Does that make sense?
That definitely makes sense. Now I can see where that would be coming in handy when you have a lot of diagrams like we have now. The only issue that I could find with that is that if you are wanting to quickly reference between them, it would be just kind of confusing to have to like click the link to go back down, and you have to make it a link back down to go back up.
But think if this is being printed, if it's going to be printed, right? And the diagram's moved, then you're right. If you're hyperlinking, it can be kind of confusing. But the thing is that where we're referencing the entity or describing that particular view, sweetie, I'm on the phone. I know. One
Right.
second. You got an ouchie. I know. You got. I'm sorry. Here, I'll kiss it better. There you go. Okay, I'm in a meeting. Go talk to mama. Okay. Sorry. Um, so just my day. The so anyways,
Right.
just we need to reference the document where we're kind of describing that view. It needs to be C diagram 7.
All right, I'm back.
So nope, that's fine.
Sorry.
So the other thing that I was talking about in terms of the architecture, if you can go back, so look at that diagram on diagram 7. Brother
Mhm.
Williamson, Chris was saying, are those, uh, in terms of the flow, like what is being described here? Because he said shows the how, there's a grammar error there, but shows how the home page can lead to many other views and options. He said, well, the way the diagram is showing,
Right.
if that's being taken literally, then the person has to jump to home page to bookmark, and then from bookmark they have to go back to home page and then to table of contents, and then from table of contents back to home page and then back to, right? If it's supposed to show these are all the individual parts of a home page, then you have to explain that in the description, right? So it goes back to
Right.
that. If I was explaining this to somebody, how does that actually work, right? And then the other thing that he
Right.
brought up, if you scroll up to the top, I think in one of your diagrams, keep going, about the network, the storage. I think it was with mobile storage somewhere, wherever the mobile storage one. This one right here, diagram 2. So his question was,
This one.
um, the diagram 2 breaks down the client synchronization and how it syncs data from internal storage and cloud storage. So he said, well, those arrows are unidirectional. So client synchronization only sends data to internal storage and can never get stuff back, right? Do you see what I'm
Uh,
saying? So either we have
yeah.
to explain that
No,
this is not necessarily a flow diagram, right? But this is showing how the components talk. We either need bidirectional areas
in the
or it needs to
relation.
be explained in diagram 2 in the description.
Right, right, okay. And I think a lot of the things that you've been bringing up are definitely good, and they're actually all things that I
Yeah.
addressed in my meeting. Because what I was, just to give you an example of what I was meaning before, is like you have, for example, I use the very first diagram. So, we have kind of this main architectural thing where we have the first level, we have the second level, and then we have the third level. But really, in our description, all we're really talking about is the first and the second level. We're not
Yep.
really touching base on this. Now it's nice that we go into greater description detail
Yeah.
right here, right? So now we know exactly what the How Web API
Yeah.
does. But for the first few of them, there's a lot more detail. But once
Yeah.
you start getting down to
Yep.
even, even diagram 6 or diagram 7 or any of those, you have like
Yeah.
what, one layer? Like, what does this even mean? Automatic color coding, optional, daily overview. Like some of these are like don't make a lot of sense. So I've instructed them to go through and walk through it as if someone who's never not part
Never
of this
seen it.
team
Yep.
is
Yep.
coming
Sounds
in,
like we're on the
right?
same page then. So
Right. So a lot of that I've come into. I'll have to try to work in to see how I can incorporate either making the diagrams bigger,
splitting them
or
apart.
just
Yeah. He
make
did really like
right
diagram
exactly.
5. He thought, yep. He was very happy
Yay!
with diagram 5.
That was definitely not
Um,
ours, but that's also another concern that I had.
No, okay.
That's a concern I had as well for diagram 3, diagram 5, and I think diagram 12 were not made by our team. They're actually made by Sarah's team and I believe Andrew's. Though it might just
12, I think, was made by Andrews, right?
that one
The
was a
web API.
screenshot that I gave him. Oh, you talking about the web, the framework diagram?
Well, I'm talking about diagram 3, for example, this one right here. I mean, I we could write the description for it, but this wasn't something that we created, so I would assume that whoever created it, I think it was Sarah's team. Sarah, did you do that, or did Andrew do that?
I did that one.
You did that one. So I might ask that they, is it still part of our team's jurisdiction to describe these and
It'd
break
be a
it
good
down?
exercise to see if you
Or is
understood if the diagram makes sense. But in terms of who should do what,
Because we're still
I don't know. It depends on your time frame, Sarah. Do you guys have enough time to do that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. For sure.
Yeah, because really all I'm looking for is like,
And keep, well, I don't know. They just don't do very much, but
well, all I'm really looking for is not necessarily something major, but really what I'm looking for is like, because this diagram, it seems a little small for the eye. I'm like squinting to try to find it. So for me to really understand it in one sentence, I feel like it should be describing more of the relationship between all this stuff going on. So similar to what, like diagram 2 is the exact same dilemma. We have breaks down client synchronization and how it, and how it syncs from internal storage and cloud storage. That is like, it needs more detail, it
Yeah.
needs more juice. Like I have no idea what all this stuff has to do. So
wait. Okay, so but that one is
diagram 2 would be for our team.
no, I know, but Matthew, diagram 2 and 3 are the same. It's just one is a UML.
Yeah, diagram.
So why don't we have Bud label it, because he will be better at that and he will catch things that I do not. Because if Bud can't label mine or he labels it not how I was thinking, then that will mean I need to go through and fix that diagram. Does that make sense?
Either that or just have a description of it, because it's very small, and so I mean I can just maximize Well, right, but if you have a description of it and describing that it's actually UML, then
Yeah, the description
we don't
just needs to
necessarily
be that
need.
this is a component diagram that shows the communication layers between the different parts. But you're right.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
That
That's
it
fine.
just
Sorry.
how would you
More
explain it to someone who hadn't seen this diagram before, right? Because they're going to see a high level, just the different pieces from the diagram 2 above, and diagram 3 is actually showing how they communicate back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Right. So just a couple sentence description that really explains that diagram.
All right.
Does that make
Yeah.
is that clear, or is there any confusion there?
Yeah, and I think it does.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's gonna help a lot more, especially with mine. I have a lot of diagrams up here for my team that we seem to have some descriptions, like for example here, but then you'll have other places where it's like there's no meat to this.
And let's try to minimize. Let's have a couple more class diagrams if we can, class diagrams from Sarah's team. But let's minimize the amount of work and focus more on consistency and explanation, right? Because everything else should be put into the limitation so that because we really only have about 2 weeks worth of work left. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and what I think I mentioned to you before is that where is it? Yeah, I have Keith finishing. He wanted to take the 2 UML that I'd done the structure for, and then he basically is just going through and finishing them off, which is nice with the getters and setters and whatnot. He's going to finish up the options one and post that, and then James is working on the one that I sent you, 4.4, I believe. I sent it to him. Where is it? Yeah, 4.4 account management. And so then we should have each one of the major entities covered.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So, I forgot about section 4. Oh well, we'll have to deal with that next week. We need to remove 4.1, and that's gonna shift everything around. That's what sucks. We should have done that earlier.
Oh.
So, because 4.1, that sample entity needs to go away.
Oh.
Yep. So that's gonna screw up the traceability
Oh,
matrix.
dear.
But oh well, we'll have to figure that out. Okay. Sarah, do you have any additional questions? I need to cut this meeting soon, but do you have anything else that you wanted to cover?
No, I actually don't. No, I think you're just fine because I've been kind of communicating
Yep.
with you
Yep.
what I'm
And I
doing.
think we're fine. Again, as you guys have questions or if you're having problems in your team, just let me know and try to make sure that people aren't overworking on their hours. Okay?
All right.
Yeah, actually having all mine
Yeah.
report their hours
Yeah.
to me
So if
now
we
on
can,
Fridays.
I just want to make sure that we use the limitation section as much as we can to save people, because the goal is to try and just demonstrate that we know what we're doing, right? So, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone,
Yeah.
and thank you again for all that you're doing. I really appreciate that. I mean, I can't do all this work myself, so I'm grateful for all that you guys are doing.
Right.
Thank you, Stephen. You're awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're too awesome. Thank you for putting all the effort in, and I just want to say I'm grateful that you do all the work you do because it makes our
Well,
job so much easier.
Yeah,
Oh, dear
just
heavens, yes.
remember, when you're managers yourselves, I mean, what the role of a good manager is, because you always want a good manager. I've had way too many sucky ones. So, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Agree.
Talk to you guys later. Have a good evening. Enjoy. Yep.
All right. Have a good night.
See you,
Yep.
Stephen.
Bye.
Enjoy your family. Bye.